Hi guys, so today I am coloring this second Halloween picture that I've done this year, and I really love this one. I loved it when I was drawing it, and I also loved coloring it. It was a really very fun piece overall. And when I started coloring this one, I didn't have any plans at all what colors I wanted to use. And that's pretty unusual. Usually when I am done with the line art, I usually have some sort of ideas of what colors I want or what mood I want to show, and it changes a lot by the end of it. Pretty much on all of my pieces it never looks the same as what I thought it would, but for this one I actually had no ideas whatsoever, so I didn't really have a jumping off point, but I knew that I wanted it to feel really very festive and to have lots of these colors in it. Even though they were these very spooky figures, I knew that I didn't want them all to be like a straight black and to have it really monochromatic. I knew that I wanted a lot of things to be going on with the colors and that. So this one was really fun to just try out different color combinations, see which ones worked and then which ones didn't. And I just had a lot of fun really playing with the colors in this one and not really worrying too much about figuring it out and making sure that everything was exactly theoretically correct, but just to have fun trying out different colors. And just, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I liked this process a lot. So I actually tried something a little bit new on this piece and I'm really excited about it. So the thing is that I really would like to get more into working with the values and making sure that the values are working and are really strong on their own, and not just that I'm just looking at color and the color is blinding me as to whether the value is working or not. And the issues that I've had before, where a lot of artists, they start with just the values and they get the values figured out and then they put the colors on top of it. And I never really liked that process, because once I got into actually doing the colors, I usually ended up changing the values anyways because I didn't really like how that looked. So the thing that I kind of started doing in this piece, and it really helped a lot, was I created a layer on top of all the other colors and I just made it this flat green, and the color actually doesn't matter at all, but I filled it in with the paint bucket tool, so it's just one solid color, and I set the layer mode to color. So what that does is it makes all the colors below it green, that same green, and the only thing that changes is the value of each of those colors. And the reason that that is so important is that when I turn that layer on, I can see exactly what the values are without seeing any of the colors. And that's just extra information that makes it a little bit harder for me to actually look and figure out whether the values are working, because there's more to see than what's just there as far as values, and it's a lot harder to tell. So when I put that layer mode on, I can see exactly where, say if I had two colors that were really close together, specifically in this piece, this skeleton's hat and his scarf on his head, those colors were really close together on the actual picture. And I had one that was kind of a purple, one that was a blue. So when I'm looking at them, I could see the difference, but when I engaged that layer so that they looked the same color, they actually had like very, very close value. And that means that it's really kind of hard to differentiate when you're looking at it. And that way I could see I needed to change the value of one of those. So I lightened one of them up. That way you can really differentiate. And this just really helped. It kind of brought it so that it's a lot easier for me to be able to see the values simply without having to do only values first and then the colors. I could work on those simultaneously, and it really worked really well for me. So I think this is a process that I'll really use on all of my future pieces. And this is really something that really makes a piece strong or weak. And it's one of those things that's actually kind of hard to tell at just looking at the face value as far as whether the values are really working. So this really, I think, will help me a lot to be able to see what areas the values are not working and which ones are. So yeah, I think this step will really strengthen a lot of my pieces from here on out, and I'm excited to really utilize that. So one of the areas that I really had to focus on as far as values and making sure that it was reading really well was between these three figures and the background. So I knew that the three figures were going to be very dark throughout all of them, so that they'd have this really kind of creepy monster vibe to them. But I also wanted the background to be a nighttime scene, since it's trick-or-treating, and trick-or-treating is traditionally at night. So I wanted it to have that atmosphere, but I couldn't have them both be really dark, because then it would just be dark figures on top of a dark background and you wouldn't be able to see what was going on, and it would be really hard to look at. So that's actually something that having that color layer so I could really see the values helped a ton with, because I was really able to see whether they were coming forward out of the background or whether they're really blending in. And one of the things that I really focused on was making sure that the sky color was the right color, because I couldn't have it really dark like this midnight blue navy color where I would typically go for if I was doing a night sky. So I couldn't have that, or else the figures would blend in completely with the background. But I actually ended up going with this kind of spooky greenish color, and I think that it reads really well because it's more of a mid-tone and it's saturated, so these characters are still coming forward and you can differentiate them. But because it's an unusual color for the sky and it kind of has this mysterious, creepy look to it, it feels more like a nighttime scene, and plus the moon really helps with that. So I had different ways that I could make it look like it was this nighttime scene without actually making it a really dark background. I think one of the big things that made me really enjoy working on this piece was all the little storytelling details in it, and it's just so much fun to be able to have all these little narrative elements in it that add to this story, this imagination of what's going on. And it was really fun, so I think that that's something that I'd like to really focus on in the future. Illustrations that I do is just having a lot more little details and these fun little hints at a story. And I think that that really did make it really pleasant to work with. Also, I loved working on the light and the shadow of this one. I didn't really talk about it very much, but I wanted it to have a strong light source, and that made it to have really strong shadows as well. And it was really fun to work with that and get it all fine-tuned at the end. So yeah, I mean, in the end, I really loved this piece. It was really fun to work on. Well, that is about it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to hit subscribe so you can catch all my future art videos, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!